What's up, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of Top Thunder. Here from the top 10, this is a show where our patrons send in questions, thoughts, and comments. Our $5 and above patrons, and Matt and I answer them. Matt, I think you started off, right?
That sounds about right. No
Okay.
clue, but sure. And
got?
it's whatever they sent in is what we talk about. So our first one comes to us from Chuck Clark and says, "Hello, Matt and John. Hope you're doing well. It's getting close to New Year's when he sent this, or by the time you read this, giving up, or by the time you read this, giving up resolutions time. I was wondering if there was an important goal in your life that you remember setting for yourself at New Year's or any other time that you ultimately achieved. What was your strategy for reaching your goal, and how do you maintain it?"
Oof. Wow.
Do you have a goal that you set for yourself at New Year's? I have.
Go ahead. You take it. You go ahead. If you got something, go ahead, man.
I have one that I set around. Technically, I did it at Christmas.
Okay.
I used to smoke.
Oh.
And I was a pack to a pack and a half a day smoker. And for years, I'd ask my mom what she wants for Christmas, and she's like, "You to quit smoking."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So one year, the kicker of it is, so she was a nurse and my dad was a cancer doctor, and I fucking smoked like an asshole.
Wow. We all got our paths, man.
Yeah, well, it was more so peer pressure, and then I started smoking, and then I got addicted, and then I liked smoking. So one year for Christmas, I told both my parents, all right, roughly 6 months from now, I picked a date that was halfway between Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Right.
And it's like, so this is going to be your Christmas gifts this year and your Mother's Day and Father's Day, and I'll quit smoking. And I've never smoked another cigarette ever since.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. But it took, it was 6 days before New Year's. I never really made New Year's resolutions because I tried a few times, and then if I didn't achieve them, I felt worse than if I had attained the goal. So I just stopped doing it. And
right.
I set other goals for myself and achieved them, but around New Year's specifically, that's the only one that I can think of that was ever like a huge monumental one.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've set any goals, Matt, at New Year's. Like, I don't really buy into that. I always go in my mind like, all right, 2020, whatever, 20, whatever, I want to achieve this. I want to achieve that. And I guess with the channel, if something more recent last year, I know as we were turning into the new year, I wanted us to cross 20,000 subscribers. So, I worked harder and I made a goal to do more reviews on the channel. Like, I know that was a goal I had going from 2020 into 2021, because I'm super nervous doing solo reviews. Like, I'm a basket case. Lily would probably tell you stories of my fucking just sitting in here for 45 minutes, beat myself up as I try to record a review. And so, but I made a goal that I would confront this and get over it. And I'm not 100% over it, but I'm certainly a lot more confident. And certainly my trailer reactions, I used to take 3 hours doing those. Those are an hour now with editing and everything, from recording to post, an hour, which I'm proud of. But with reviews, I'm still kind of trying to wrangle this beast. Solo reviews. And so, 2-person reviews, that's easy. That's cake for me. But the 1-person reviews, I'm constantly self-editing. So I wanted to make sure I figured if I just keep doing it, I'll get past that situation and I'll find a rhythm and I'll find a pattern and a plan on how to do them that makes sense. So I think I'm almost there, but I know I've gotten better at them than I did when I was doing them back in early 2021. So I'm proud of that. But certainly that was a goal that I set for myself in the year. It wasn't necessarily a New Year's Eve goal, but certainly a goal. So that's something. But it's been a long time. So I was like, all right, New Year's Eve, I'm in a resolution. Whatever. It's just because life is tough, man. And you just never know what's going to get in the way. And why set up a situation for you to feel bad about yourself? It just doesn't make sense,
Yes, I agree. But it also adds up to the New Year's is, for me, overhyped. It's like this big buildup every year too.
Right.
It's just another night that I would party with my friends, and it was really no different, other than maybe more people were partying than normally would be.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed. at that time in my life, I loved the party.
Yeah.
Uh,
You were into it.
yeah, it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun. It was the problem. It became, it spilled over into every day of the week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's way, when the party leads into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and just doesn't end. Well, it's no longer a party; it's a lifestyle, and that lifestyle wasn't healthy. At least wasn't for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed New Year's. I just the idea of resolutions. I tried it for a couple years, and I just never really succeeded on any of them. So I stopped doing it because I'm good about if I set a goal for myself, I complete that goal.
Yes.
Or I do everything in my power to complete that goal.
Right.
So I don't need a day, to specifically tell me to do it. Because if that means I've been delaying it too. Which is a worse habit for me at least.
Right. Well, I mean, let's deal with the other part of the question that Chuck asked, like, how do you go about it? I mean, I think you have to lay a plan out. And for me, at least, what works is lay a plan out of an overall goal and then little mini goals throughout the year. And the number one thing is be okay with the fact that you might not hit those mini goals as long as you're not using it as an excuse to beat yourself up. Use it as a reason to motivate yourself to hit the next mini goal quicker. And those are the ways that like you can kind of be good with yourself, but also motivate yourself. So those are the things that I would say for sure. And seek advice. Watch YouTube videos that are, have insider information on how to get to your goal quicker. I think that really helps.
Sure.
I think one of the greatest things I saw when I was first starting the channel was this YouTube video where they interviewed people who were extremely successful on YouTube. And they all said, don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail. Just accept that and put out the content that connects to you and you will find your voice. And don't be afraid that 20 people are only 20 people are watching or 10 people. Like it's about your process. It's not about trying to get as many views as possible right off the bat. So just understand some of your videos are going to fail and some of them are going to succeed, but it's about you getting better at doing it. That's the ultimate goal. So let go of trying to create the greatest thing ever in your first video, so it was really important to hear that.
Yeah. Most of them wallowed in obscurity and then eventually they gained traction, but it took years of plugging away, at least on the YouTube side. But that's the kind of anything,
I think.
Any real endeavor. If the goal is large enough, it should take time and effort and years, which sucks. Nobody wants to put in the years. They want the outcome, but you feel more fulfilled once you get it, knowing what you had to do to get to that position.
Agreed.
Now,
right.
I don't like it when people are like, well, I had to do that, so you should have to. It's like, well, no two people's journeys are the same. So, I don't wish any kind of suffering on somebody to be like, well, I had to suffer through, and just like, well, you had to. It's like when people get bitter about, oh, well, they were an overnight success, and be like, well, A, you didn't see the work that went into it beforehand.
Right.
But B, if they were like legitimately, well, that shit happens. And let's see if they have the talent to stay where they're at. Because there might be a reason they were an overnight success. Like, look at Eddie Murphy. He went from high school to he's been a part of all of our lives. For 4 decades. That was a case where overnight, yes, he was a star because he was a star because he was a star.
Right.
And there are countless other instances where, they got a shot and we all agreed after that one thing, no, thank you.
All right. But that's also a recipe for danger if you're going to compare yourself to people who have like a once in a generational talent. Like that's not the way to go. There are plenty of people who grind and push and struggle and scratch and claw to achieve a certain level of success and a good level of success. And part of the satisfaction of achieving that is the fact that it took so long to get there and years, and you put in the time and you learned how to be good at it. And I think you're right. What Matt says, like there are plenty of people who are like, well, I did this, so you should have to do this. Now that's different than people who are like, tell me how to do it and give me everything and I'm going to work as little as possible to get there. There's two different conversations going on there, I think, in my opinion. And so that's the difference. I have no problem helping somebody, but I sure as fuck ain't going to do the work for you. That's the difference. Nor am I going to give you like insider trader secrets, I wouldn't do that either. It's like you've got to find your own path, and I'll happily give you advice, but in no way am I going to make it so that you get to do nothing, or you do as little as possible. So that's the game, and I think you have to appreciate that for sure. But anyway, all right, is that good?
Yeah, I think so. Good question, Charles. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. All right, Jeremy Bowers is here. This is Jeremy. Hey, fellas. This is Jeremy. Hope all is well with you both. My question is a bit deep, so feel free to skip it if you want. But I've struggled with depression and anxiety throughout my life and struggled with alcohol, so I stopped drinking about 9 months ago. But there are times when it is extremely difficult to not drink. Although it is not often, when that craving is there, it is bad. What advice do you have to keep on the straight and narrow? Also, all of your content helps me a lot, and your banter always puts a smile on my face. So thank you so much, Jeremy B. Matt, please. What advice do you have to keep him on the straight and narrow when as he confronts this?
Well, I mean, in this instance, the advice would be autobiographical, although as all advice really is. For me, when I quit, and there was no going back. And I still I've had a few times over the years where my body craved it because I was in an incredibly stressful environment, and I just needed some sort of stress relief. There's one in particular where I was driving from a place and I wanted to punch this guy in the face so hard, and been building up, and he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing.
Wow.
Well, it was for months.
Right.
And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I will murder you otherwise.
Wow.
And on the drive home, you pass bars, and I was driving back to my place in Silver Lake from Hollywood, and I thought about stopping. I wanted a glass of scotch. I wanted I could taste it.
Yeah.
And I could taste, my body used to have very specific actions when it craved alcohol, and it just resurrected those. I hadn't had them at that point in like 5 years. But I knew that's not the answer. It wasn't the answer before. If I open up that Pandora's box for me specifically, it doesn't end well. I know it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
So I would say focus on the progress that you've made in the 9 months. If you're genuinely happier having given up, the alcohol and the sauce, and think about, there might be the momentary relief of having the drink, but the long-term effect of you're going to overdrink more than likely that night, and you're going to feel like shit the next day. And does that mean you're going to drink that night because of that, or because you feel bad about, and it compounds from there. So that momentary, brief release is more than likely nowhere near the mountain of difficulty and increased depression and everything else that you're going to feel on the other side of that. At least that's the way I assume it would be for me.
That's great, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right. I mean, just that momentary relief could lead to you tumbling back down into the cycle of depression and anxiety and feeling bad about yourself. Because that's what depression and anxiety is. That's the foundation of it, is doubting yourself, not believing in yourself, hating yourself, and actions that lead you to those thoughts repeating themselves as a cycle. And so you just go, see, I'm not strong enough. I gave in, and so I'm terrible, and I suck, and I don't deserve to live, or I'm terrible. And those are the dangerous thoughts that get into your head. When, in fact, if you could learn how to speak to yourself like your best friend and say, you know what, it did suck. You broke. Okay, today's a new day. Let's start this again. Let's start marking down the stuff in the calendar again. And too many people don't know how to speak to themselves, and including me. I've certainly am not the greatest at this. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. You got to speak to yourself like you talk to your best friend, in a supportive, caring manner, and a believing manner. But like talking to yourself that way, sometimes you can go into the trap of like, well, I sound like a pussy, or I sound like I'm not strong, or whatever, or maybe I'm letting myself get away with stuff. And so everyone's got their own kind of internal dialogue to navigate, to figure out what are the right combination of words or sentences that pull you out of those black holes that you can go into with anxiety and depression. And I've never had, Matt, I've never had, addiction like that, but You could argue food has been my
Sure.
struggle my whole life because I've been slightly overweight my whole life. And so it's always been my battle, and it's always been tied to my feelings about my attractiveness. And so that's always been connected. And so I've had to navigate that in my life. And even now, as I'm probably the heaviest I've been in a long time, but I'm very happy in my relationship. So it's just like, well, where's my happiness overall for me personally? And that's something I'm still navigating and what have you. So we've all got our things. People
Yeah.
with money, people with alcohol.
Yeah. Or the compulsive shopping or
Yes.
gambling or
Yes.
there's tons of vices out there. They all have different names, but the outcome is the same. More than
Yeah.
likely they'll feel like shit.
Yes. When you're done, because the high wears off quickly.
Yeah.
The high wears off quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think most people have had some sort of bout with depression. Some individuals, it's chronic.
Yes.
And others, it's fleeting. But we've all been, more than likely, we've all been depressed at some point. I know I have, but I haven't had to deal with it as much as quite a few people that I know. And when you look at mine compared to theirs, it's like, it's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know someone currently who is literally like you know what, if I die, I don't care. And you're like, man, come on. Yeah. Snap out of it. They're not suicidal.
Right.
They're just done.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on, man. That isn't the answer. But it's like only they can change that.
Right. Yes.
Because me going snap out of it is not going to do anything except to create resentment from them towards me.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah. It's just like, this isn't healthy for me to project onto them how I feel that they should feel. It's like, that's not helpful. It's not. You got to be, at least you got to take a step back and look at this from a superposition of how would you feel in this situation? You'd fucking hate it.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, depression is when the way I dealt with it, it was one day at a time.
Yeah.
Just like what you said before in the previous question of making small goals, that helped me with my depression of, you know what? I don't know why I am really this depressed or sullen, but hey, if I got off my ass today and ran or did this, it helped a little bit on this side. And if I try and do this positive thing over here, it helped a little bit. I just tried to find small little things that I knew were good for me and progressing myself forward. And eventually I got out of that, but I was depressed for a long time, but I've only had one real big bout with it, thankfully.
Yeah. I've talked about it. Yeah. Ditto. 2016. That was my biggest bout with it. I've dealt with it without knowing what it was for many, many years, but those 5 months or 6 months from 2016 and 2017, that was the bout. And I have never, ever experienced anything quite like that for such an extended period of time. And as Matt said, it's correct. Like, let me just do this. Let me just do that. Let me go for a walk. For me, it was like, let me just get through these meditations. And I would have to meditate sometimes 3 hours in the morning just to be able to get out of bed. And that's how deep it had gotten. But it was my little goals like, okay, let me just hit play on this. Let me just lay here and be strong enough to let the feelings come through me and then come out. And so those little things. And let me just get through the day. Let me get to lunch. Let me get to dinner. Let me get to the morning. And those are those little things you start to kind of, figure out how to do that. But it's not easy. And as I said, everyone's got their internal conversation. And I would suggest, if you're not seeing a therapist, to possibly find a therapist if you can afford it, if your insurance covers it or whatever. And there are plenty of cities, and maybe you live in a city where this is possible, where there are therapists who do pro bono work or who do work, but depending on your salary, they'll charge you, depending on your salary, a certain amount.
Yeah.
And you agree to it. And that's what saved me. The Maple Center in LA, it was $25 a session. I couldn't believe it. I was lucky to find a great psychiatrist my first time around. And then when I had the real big bout, that was the two of them at the same time going toe to toe. So it was just like, you got to do those little things to kind of help you climb out of it.
Yeah.
And don't judge yourself, and don't go be like, oh, it's gay. I shouldn't, that's weird, or that's not really strong. All those stupid terms we say to ourselves, release all that shit. Like, read the books, do the affirmations, do all those little things, because you never know how much they can help you. And don't let anyone tell you that you're being a wuss for feeling this way.
Yeah, I think thankfully we've kind of educated ourselves as a society to realize that, you know, your mental state has the greatest determination of your overall health.
Yeah.
Because if your mind's in a bad place, your physical health can be destroyed because of that. And your body just kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
I don't know that stigma has as much of a place anymore as it once did. Like something like The Sopranos, I think, could still exist in today's modern world because of the machismo of the mafia boss.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think it would be, most people would be like, oh, that's good for you. You know, trying to be healthy. But I could even see now in a mob movie, so long as they know you're not spilling secrets, they're like, hey, good for you. You know, personal growth, something to strive for.
Good for you.
Yeah. So long as you're not saying nothing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You know, what we talk about stays here. Stays here.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I know that it had that somewhat of a stigma. Like, I'm not crazy. I don't need to talk to somebody type of thing. And it's more so it's been around and enough people because, you know, I know I've never gone to a therapist, but I'm in the minority of people that in my family that I'm friends with. Most people I know have seen a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good if it's, you know, healthy for you and you can get something out of it. I think it's all worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you luck, Jeremy, on your path, and please keep us updated. You know, Matt and I think I'm not speaking out of turn when I say Matt and I absolutely are beside you as you are in this struggle, and we want you to stay around with us and let us know how it's going. Keep us updated. Be fun to read that. All right, one more before we go.
Yeah, let's do one more and then we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
Robbie Sturgill comes in with a 3-parter.
Whoa!
You want to save this one for next time?
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
this one looks pretty meaty, Robbie. We like it. I'll remark that as unread so we know to go back to it. All right, so we'll go to Luke Allison.
Okay.
And it says, greetings, Matt and John. I recently rewatched my favorite MCU movie, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
What I just realized was that while also featured heavily in the original trailer, Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song gets needle dropped twice during the movie. At the beginning when Thor defeats, is it Surtur?
Yeah.
And during the final battle on the bridge. And yet everyone is awesome. My personal favorite movie needle drop is Queen's One Vision from the 1986 classic film Iron Eagle. It was, is, and will always be my favorite Queen song because of it. Wow, really?
Wow.
Do you have a pre-existing song that you were introduced to via movie needle drop that you fell in love with and now is one of your favorites?
Wow.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and Happy New Year too. So is there a pre-existing song that you basically didn't know about it before the movie and now you flat out love? That is one of your favorites.
I don't know. I mean, Immigrant Song, I guess I'd heard. So
come on. Really? You're not deep on Zepp?
Yeah.
I love Led Zeppelin, so I knew Immigrant Song.
Fair enough. I mean, I remember just like I'd known the song, but I didn't really know the song. And now it's one of my favorites, you know, because it's that is such a
the land of the ice and snow. Come on, it's great.
And I forgot that they'd used it in a Shrek film. Till I was randomly like,
really?
The channels, and it was in Shrek 2 or 3 when all the princesses attack the castle. I think it's in the second one, and they're playing the Immigrant Song, and then she's like, and who's it, Cinderella or whatever? She's like, oh, and then boom. So I was like, oh shit, damn.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a. That's the tough thing.
Should look this up. Yeah.
Best song that existed before the movie that I didn't know about, then seeing in the movie, I came to love. Because Immigrant Song, it's like that's from one of the biggest rock bands in the history of music.
True.
So to not have a pre-existing knowledge of something like that is tough. And a Queen song, I'm gonna know most of Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm rifling through because there's tons of songs that were written for movies
Right.
that
Right.
end up becoming part of, like 8 Mile didn't
Yeah.
exist before the movie, but now it's like
Right.
that song is fantastic and it works beautifully in the film.
Yeah. I'm looking
Um,
here, but
yeah, and once again, it's not that I
oh,
haven't thought what.
I'll throw one out there. Yeah, the Royal Tenenbaums. I had never heard of Nico's These Days, and I thought that was an awesome
Okay.
song that I'd never heard before. And she has another one, I think. Oh no, that got me into Velvet Underground, which I had not known. I did not know much about Velvet Underground until I saw Royal Tenenbaums, and that through Nico, I get with Femme Fatale, and then through that into Lou Reed and Velvet Underground, and
Sure.
I'm waiting for my man and all that shit. Like that was the thing. And the Heroin, like that. Oh, I guess the Doors, right? The Doors introduced me to that song Heroin from Velvet Underground, which I'd never heard about before. So those are one of those ones. Yeah, shit. That's something that's there.
Yeah, I knew Velvet Underground before.
Okay.
I'm not like a huge fan, but I've listened to a lot of their albums. Let's see.
I mean, because you could say I would have said "Fight the Power," but that was made for the movie. So, shipping up to
Boston. There you go. That's a good one.
That's the one. I had never heard that song
Yeah.
until I saw it in fucking Departed. Oh, that song and the fucking Patriots. Ugh. Ooh, that song.
Yeah,
that song.
That's a good one.
You might go on the seniors tour. We'll have to take on the Patriots again. Finally beat them once and for all. God damn it.
Listen, I have no promise of a pension. Why am I coming back? If there was
we have to beat them once in our lives.
Some moolah in it. Yeah, I'm only getting more forgetful. So this isn't gonna end well.
That's true. As am I. Like I'm telling you, I think I got out at the right time. There's a whole new wave of actors coming through with all these films. I was looking at it the other day. I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't know half of these actors. And these would totally be valid to pop up in a Schmodown competition. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm getting out the right time.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, one is a Queen song.
Okay.
I had never heard Bohemian Rhapsody before Wayne's World.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I had heard, We Will Rock You and practically every other one. And somehow I had never heard Bohemian Rhapsody.
Interesting.
Before that movie. That's one.
Okay.
That song, that's like, how could I not have?
Right.
Because it's been so prevalent ever since in pop culture.
Yeah. Everyone talks about it. Yeah.
Well, it was number one when it came out.
Yeah.
And then kind of fell by the wayside because it's too long for radio.
Yep.
And then Wayne's World comes out and it goes back up to number one again. And then since then, it's been a staple.
Here's another one. Snatch, that Oasis song when he's fucking
in the bushes.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until I saw the movie.
Okay.
And that whole fight sequence in the punt. Like,
if we want to go obscure artists, for sure, there's a whole bunch.
Oh, yeah.
Did
you say Oasis is obscure?
No, I'm saying Snatch, like that's the most known of.
Oh, right. Okay.
You could do the entire soundtrack to, most of Snatch, I would say, that I didn't know beforehand. And, son of a gun. The Zach Braff, Natalie Portman, Skarsgård.
Oh, Garden State. Yeah.
Garden State.
Yeah.
It's a great soundtrack. I didn't know 95% of those songs before that.
Yeah. Same.
But
I didn't know the Shins at all. Yeah.
I knew the Shins. That was about it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple songs on there that are just fantastic that I'd never heard. Let's see.
Okay.
What else? God, there's so many of these. Great question.
Yeah, it is a good question. Yeah. No, Beastie Boys, I knew all those.
For sure.
Layla for Goodfellas, I knew all that. Oh, Change is Gonna Come. Oh, did I? That's another one too. I had not heard that Sam Cooke song and when Malcolm X, that scene in Malcolm X when Denzel is being taken to the Audubon Ballroom as Malcolm.
Okay.
I'd never heard A Change Is Gonna Come from Sam Cooke, and that song has become one of my favorites and very emotional song for me to listen to now. And Aretha's version is even more just devastating to listen to. Yeah, were anything Train Spotting? Like, were all those like?
Well, there's some like
Right?
what? There's Lust for Life. I knew that.
Yeah.
Is that Iggy Pop?
Iggy, yeah. Okay.
But then there's that one that's like a dubsteppy type of.
Yeah, Born Slippy.
Born Slippy.
Yeah.
I don't.
Dog boy.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know if the movie introduced me to that or I heard it right around. It got semi-popular right around the same time. It was apparently huge in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. I think we did a good job.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much to Luke Allison for that question, to Jeremy Bowers, and to Charles Clark. It's always great to get questions from you all. And we're running out of questions. We're getting close to running out of questions. So if you haven't sent anything and you're a patron at the $5 and above level, Matt and I can't encourage you enough to send in your questions for us to answer. Remember, everything's on the table. Anything you want to ask. I mean, we can, of course, have the discretion to not answer it, but we rarely not answer a question. So
yeah, I don't think we've ever done it.
No, I don't think so either. So
yeah, there's been some where just like people pitched an idea for a show and stuff like that and be like, okay, well, we won't read this one because it's not really germane to what we're talking about right now. Yeah. But there's never been a question where we were offended or
exactly.
Would not answer. So please fire away. The email address is over at patreon.com/the top 10 with the number 10. So for those patrons at the $5 and above level, used to be just you got to shout out, but now if you want to send in questions for Topic Thunders, our way of saying thanks during all this nonsense of the past almost 2 years now. So please send them in, and you can follow the show at Top 10 Show on Twitter, and on Instagram and YouTube it is /the Top 10 Podcast with the number 10, and follow me on Twitter at Matt Nost.
And you can follow me at The Roca Says, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of Topic
Thunder.